Hi and welcome to PharmaLife Education YouTube channel. In the series of biochemistry video, our next video was bioenergetics. And in this video, we will see all the definitions which was in our syllabus. So starting with the definition of bioenergetics. So what is this bioenergetics? Bioenergetics is the branch of biochemistry that focuses on how cell transforms energy, often by producing, storing as well as consuming ATP. So ATP is a currency of the cell. So how this will be produced, how this will be stored and how this will be consumed is what the study we are going to see in this bioenergetics. So next one is types of bioenergetic reactions. There are two different types of bioenergetic reactions. One is exergonic and next one is endergonic reactions. What is the difference between exergonic and endergonic? We will see now. So everyone knows about this photosynthesis, right? Photosynthesis. What is this photosynthesis? Combination of carbon dioxide plus water, it will be producing glucose, right? So this is what photosynthesis with the help of light. So with the help of light, two molecules was converted into one molecule. That's what photosynthesis was. So here this photosynthesis will comes under endergonic reaction. So what is an endergonic reaction? To complete this reaction we need some energy. So that's what the definition was stating. And what is the example of exergonic reaction? So everyone knows this reaction, right? ATP is a currency of the cell. So ATP will be converted into ADP plus pi. So to convert ATP to ADP, there is no need of energy. So this will be producing some energy itself. It will be producing some energy. So that is what is exergonic reaction. Now, if you are studying the definition for this, it implies the release of energy from spontaneous chemical reaction without any concomitant utilization of energy. So here there is no utilization of energy, so this will be producing some energy. And next one is opposite to the exergonic is being non-spontaneous and requires an input of free energy. So that's what endergonic reactions was. And coming to the equation here, so delta G is the free energy. So delta G is equal to, so delta G for exergonic reactions will be G products. So energy of products minus energy of reactants, right? Energy of products is equals to the energy, sorry, minus energy of reactants will always be less than 0. So always be less than 0 indicates that the value will be always in minus, negative symbol. Okay, and in the same sense endergonic reactions, it will be always a positive sign. It will be a positive sign. So we are talking about the molecules. So the molecules which was going to produce, that means the molecules will be losing some energy. That's what they are losing the energy. So it can be represented in the negative sign. If the molecules require some energy, so that indicates that positive sign. And next one, what is this Gibbs free energy? So Gibbs free energy was represented with G, which is equal to the total amount of energy capable of doing work during a process at constant temperature and pressure can be called as an Gibbs free energy. So if the delta G was indicating with negative sign, so already we have seen here, right? So in the last video we have seen, in the last slide we have seen that delta G, so if the delta G was indicated with a negative sign, that can be called as an exergonic. If the delta G was indicated with the positive sign, that can be indicated with the endergonic. So that's what here it was mentioning. In negative, then the spontaneous, the reaction was spontaneous and termed as an exergonic. Positive, it was endergonic. If it was 0, then it can be called as an the process has reached its equilibrium. And next one was enthalpy, a very important reactions here, definitions here. So enthalpy means the amount of heat energy transferred in the sense it may be used for absorbed or emitted, both are possible in a chemical process under constant pressure can be called as an enthalpy, which was represented with H. Enthalpy means H, right? So if the positive symbol, if the enthalpy was represented in the positive sign, positive sign, it can be called as an endo. If it was represented in the negative sign, it can be called as an exo. So here it is not endergonic or exergonic, it is endothermic. Thermic means heat. Thermic means heat. So exothermic means heat will be released out, right? Negative process means heat will be released out, that is nothing but emitted. So endothermic means heat will be consumed. So the process of, when this process was occurring, it shows that the conical flask or the reactions was too hot to touch, where this will be too cold to touch. Next one, entropy is a randomness. So here there is no arrangement, so the atoms was been arranged irregularly, and this can be seen in the entropy, which is nothing but S. Quantitative expressions of degree of randomness or disorder of the system can be called as an entropy. So entropy measures the amount of heat dispersed or transferred during a chemical process. If this was in a positive sign, it indicates that system has increased, disorderness was increased. If it was in negative sign, the disorderness of an system was decreased. And the relationship between the free energy, enthalpy and entropy was this one. Delta G is equal to delta H, change of enthalpy, minus temperature and change of entropy, is nothing but the relationship between free energy and enthalpy and entropy with the temperature. And next one is redox potential. Previously we have talked about the ATP, right? Here we are talking about ATP. What happens if ATP was been producing energy? So that's nothing but ATP will be converted into ADP plus pi. So the molecule was breaking down its one phosphate and it was been producing energy. That is the story what we have seen up to now. But what is this redox potential and how we are going to use here? Apart from phosphates, other molecules was also producing energy. For example, NAD plus NADH plus H plus. These are also producing energy, but there is no phosphates here. Why they are producing energy? Because based upon the redox potential. So here it indicates that hydrogen, presence of hydrogen or absence of hydrogen or addition of hydrogen, removal of hydrogen, all these things comes under oxidation and reduction process. If one molecule was giving hydrogen, that can be called as a reducing agent, which the reduction is taking place, and that molecule will be losing that hydrogen, that can be called as an oxidizing agent. Now oxidation process, right? So alternatively this process was simultaneous. So if a molecule was undergoing or producing energy in the form of phosphates, we have already seen that one in the endergonic and exergonic. Now if the molecule was producing some energy in the form of reduction and oxidation, that can be called as a reduction potential. In this reduction potential, we will see the definition now. Reduction potential is a number that is used to tell the tendency of an action to occur as a reduction reaction. And here there is a reduction potential or standard potential for different elements. For example, there is a standard potential of NAD plus, there is a standard potential of NADH plus H plus. So if this molecule was there, we already know that this molecule will be producing this much amount of energy. If this molecule was there, this will be producing a particular type of energy. So we'll see that one in the next slide, right? So different elements will have a different standard potential. Based upon that, we are going to calculate the energy of the molecule. And this redox potential can be represented with a formula called Nest equation, which you have already studied about this redox potential in your 1-1 pharmaceutical analysis redox titrations, right? So Nest equation here, E is nothing but the redox potential is equal to standard potential plus gas constant. This is temperature in Kelvin, and N is the number of electrons, and F is the Faraday's constant, and integration to product by the reactants is the next equation. And this is what about redox potential. And here is a chart for you to see what is the redox potential was. You can see the example here as NAD plus as well as NADP plus and NADH plus. So if this NADP plus plus H plus was taking 2 electrons and converting into NADH, then it was going to produce 0.315. If this reaction was undergoing like this, then it requires energy and the symbol will be changed to plus. So this is this is exergonic and this is endergonic reaction. I hope you have understood it, right? And next one is classification of high energy compounds. What is high energy compounds? High energy compounds are nothing but which can yield so okay, any compound which can yield an energy of 7.3 kilocalories per mole. Okay, if any compound which can yield 7.3 kilocalories per mole, that compound can be categorized under high energy compounds. Okay, so if it is 7.3, that also considered as an high energy molecule. If it is more than 7.3, it also can be considered as an high energy compound. If any compound which was been releasing less than 7.3, not equal to less than 7.3, it can be called as an low energy compounds. So this is a classification here. So we are having 6 classifications. One is pyrophosphates. Examples was ATP to ADP. So this also comes under pyrophosphates itself, but I have given under others, right? ATP to ADP will be producing minus 7.3, which was satisfying our definition. Acyl phosphates 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate will yield minus 11.8. Enol phosphate, phosphoenol pyruvate minus 14.8. Thioesters, acetyl CoA minus 7.5. These are examples and this is the classification. Okay, phosphogens and phosphocreatinine minus 10.3. So under this, enol phosphates will be producing more energy. The examples for enol phosphates was phosphoenol pyruvate will be giving more energy called minus 14.8. And one more information for all the students, don't get confused between minus 7.3 and plus 7.3 and which energy we are been preferring to be utilized. So this energy minus 7.3 energy is our energy. So this is what the cell was required. Plus 7.3 indicates that this energy will be utilized by the cell. This energy will be produced by the cell. Okay, so 7.3 means don't study that one based upon the symbol. So minus 7.3 means we are losing the energy. It's not like that. Minus 7.3 means the reaction was producing 7.3 kilocalories per mole. So this 7.3 kilocalories was a free energy which can be utilized for the further reactions. This plus 7.3 was indicating that already it was being utilized by some other reaction. So don't get confused between these two. And next one is ATP. So in our syllabus, the next topic was biological significance of ATP. So I have already explained regarding this ATP, how this ATP was being formed, like adenosine, adenine, and combination of 5 carbon ring called adenosine. This can be called as an adenosine, and these 3 molecules of phosphates, we are totally calling this as an adenosine triphosphate. So you can check it here in the cards now, and you can go through this, how this whole over ATP was been formed. Everyone knows the formation of ATP and everyone knows the structure of ATP and everyone knows the functions of ATP. First thing was it is a currency of the cell. And one more important point to you. So how many ATPs are being utilized or produced or consumed by the cell was approximately 10 million ATPs per second. So in a second, our cell, one cell, so we are having millions and millions and millions of cells in our body. So in one cell, So 10 million ATPs will be utilized by the cell per second. So imagine that how many ATPs will be produced in the body and how many ATPs will be consumed in our body, and it will be stored in our body. And next one, so coming to the ATP biological significance, we can note down for your exam point of view too. So it is a multifunctional nucleotide used in the cell as a coenzyme, right? It is used as a coenzyme too. ATP transports chemical energy within the cell for metabolism, and biosynthetic reactions, motility and cell divisions will also be based upon the ATP itself. And next one was the main three functions of ATP was transporting of organic substances like uh, transporting of inorganic substances, right? It's not organic substances, it is inorganic substances. Transporting of inorganic substances like sodium, calcium, potassium through the cell membrane is what the role of ATP. And synthesizing chemical compounds such as proteins, cholesterol, carbohydrates. So carbohydrates in glycolysis and all, without this ATP, there is no production of the next molecules, right? So supplying for energy, supplying energy for mechanical work such as muscle contraction. So this ATP is a currency of the cell. This currency will be utilized for its work itself too, right? And we have also see the structure of CAMP in the sense how this was attached, right? This is how the CAMP will be attached with the adenosine molecule, right? So that is the reason why I have not given the structure here, and these are very, very important compound CAMP, which is secondary messenger. What is this secondary messenger and what is this one? So because the substances like the hormones like glucagon and adrenaline cannot pass through the cell, so it should pass its message to the cell, right? It should pass its message to the cell, but these are unable to pass into the cell. So what happens, this glucagon and adrenaline will send a secondary messages. These are all the messengers which will be sending the messages to the cell via CAMP. Okay, that's what the role of secondary messengers. This CAMP can easily go into the cell and it will be passing the message to the cell here. And next one, it involves in the activation of protein kinase. Protein kinase is an enzyme which is used for breaking down of proteins and regulates the effects of adrenaline and glycagon. And it also regulates the passage of calcium. So previously we have seen sodium, potassium, calcium in this ATP, and CAMP will also regulates the passage of calcium through ion channels. CAMP and its associated kinase functions in several biochemical processes, including the regulation of glycagon, sugar, and lipid metabolism by activating protein kinase enzyme. So this is what about our importance of ATP as well as CAMP. I hope you have understood all this bioenergetics. It's more than sufficient for understanding the concepts of bioenergetics for your further metabolism. And this is what about your first unit of biomolecules and bioenergetics. In biomolecules and bioenergetics, we have covered all the topics related in your syllabus. Hope you have understood this first unit, and we will go for the second unit from the next videos. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share, comment and subscribe to the Pharma Life Education YouTube channel for better education. Thank you.